Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, what is Open Mic? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we spend the second half of the show taking live questions. But here on the weekends, that's all we do. We just take your live questions. Now, as I announced on Friday's John Campea Show, we normally do open mics on Saturdays, but I did announce on the John Campea Show that this week we'd be doing it on Sunday, because this Saturday, I was traveling to San Diego to go see Tenet, and I haven't seen Tenet. So here's what happened. The plan was to go halfway to San Diego to Anne's family's place, spend the night there, and then go the next day. Long story short, some stuff came up. We weren't able to leave in time to get down to San Diego in time to see Tenet, so I still have not seen Tenet. So there it is. Tenet's out there. I still haven't seen it. I've seen New Mutants, but I haven't seen Tenet. So, and I don't know when I'm going to get a chance. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see Tenet. I think I'm probably just going to have to wait until they open up theaters in Los Angeles, and I have no idea how long that's going to be. Or open it up somewhere closer than San Diego or Las Vegas. But as of right now, I have not seen Tenet, which I bought the tickets and everything. I bought the tickets, had my seats reserved, picked my seats, whole bit. Wasn't able to go and see Tenet, but well, c'est la vie, life goes on. Now, a ton of you guys have seen the key movie that's out there right now, and I still haven't. Also, you know, I still haven't seen Mulan. And I obviously have the opportunity to watch Mulan, because if I want to pay $30 for a non-theater experience, why I would pay $30 for a non-theatrical experience, I have no idea. But if I wanted to spend $30 to watch Mulan right now, I can. But I still haven't decided, because in December it hits Disney Plus for free. Like, I'm the type of guy that I don't mind spending $10 for a movie ticket, $15 for a movie ticket, whatever. I don't mind spending that money if I'm getting a real, full, proper way the movies are meant to be seen, socially connected movie theater experience. Then I don't mind paying for that. But it's kind of like the same thing. I could sit at home and watch an NHL hockey game at home. Yes, I'm willing to pay $150 for a good ticket to an NHL game, to be there with the audience, with the crowd, all that kind of stuff. I'm willing to be there for that. Damn right I'm willing to be there for that. That sounds great to me. And so I'm still struggling, because Mulan is a movie that looks good to me, and I do want to see it. So I keep going back and forth. So maybe I'll watch it sometime today. Maybe I won't watch it at all, and I'll just wait for December for it to come out on Disney Plus as normal. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I still haven't decided. I'm still trying to make up my mind. I know a lot of you guys are still trying to make up your mind as well. So I'd like to hear what's tipping you to not get it, or what's tipping you to getting it. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Anyway, that's just me right now. Anyway, we are going to spend the rest of today's show, guys, just taking your live questions. So let's get on over there and start taking them right now. And we're going to get things started here with Colin, who writes, what do you think about Black Panther 2, where T'Challa mysteriously goes missing, allowing for Killmonger, oh God, not this again. Buckle up, Colin. Allowing for Killmonger to become Black Panther. Wakanda would have to fight for Wakanda without T'Challa. I believe Michael B. Jordan has good star power to drive Black Panther 2 without Boseman. Okay, so I've already kind of covered this, but you may have sent this in before you heard me talk about this. So here's the thing. First of all, I love Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. I don't think he got snubbed, but I do think there's an argument to be made that maybe he should have gotten nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards for playing Killmonger in that movie. I thought there was a good argument to be made for that. He's a fantastic character. The villain of Black Panther is almost as big of a reason as to why that movie worked as the hero of Black Panther. I mean, you know, the best movies have the best villains. You know, Die Hard has Hans Gruber. Star Wars has Darth Vader. Black Panther had Killmonger. He was a terrific, terrific villain. But it would be absolutely idiotic for the idea to make now him come back, which him coming back from the dead is not a big deal because it is the Marvel Cinematic Fake Death Universe, right? Yeah, yes, he died. He's dead, but this is the Marvel Cinematic Fake Death Universe, so it's fine to bring him back. But there is no way you bring Killmonger back to be the leader of Wakanda. He's already been labeled as a traitor. He is a traitor to Wakanda. He is a treasonist, and he is evil. He's evil. Yes, he had a bad hand dealt to him as a kid. Yes, some of his motivations are rooted in some understandable grudges. Yes, but that doesn't change the fact that he is a murderous, genocidal, evil character. And I'll kill their children. And by the way, you think Okoye of the Dora Milaje, she, after watching Killmonger, needlessly slit the throat of one of her Dora Milaje when after countless Wakandans died as a result of his treason? Do you think for 1 second that anybody in Wakanda would consent to Killmonger being king? No. And again, he's no hero. He's an absolute 1000% villain who has some understandable motivations and definitely we feel empathy towards the character from what happened to him as a child. Absolutely. But that doesn't change the fact he is what he is. So no, I think very little, Colin, my brother, my film loving brother. I think very, very little of the idea of them getting a Killmonger to be the new Black Panther. It would totally fly in the face of everything they've established about Wakanda. So no, I don't think that would happen at all. Okay, let's see here. Superhero News writes, John and Rob, who's not here, obviously. I know you said earlier no one has done 3, but I didn't say no one's done 3. I said I can't think of any that's done 3. Anyway, but there is the great Josh Brolin. He was a lead/strong support in all 3. Jonah Hex, Thanos, and Cable in that order. That is true. I think Michael B. Jordan will be the next on that list. That's true. Now, technically speaking, Jonah Hex, which was written by some friends of mine, a couple of friends of mine wrote that movie. Jonah Hex is a DC property. That movie was in no way a DC movie. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't connected to anything, but technically speaking, I talked about different cinematic universes across different studios, and I couldn't think of an actor that I could think of several actors that has done it in 2. I couldn't think of one that's done in 3, and I think you nailed one there. Superhero News, Josh Brolin. You're right. There might be others, but I couldn't think of them. Josh Brolin with Jonah Hex, Thanos, and Cable. 3 different characters, 3 different kind of worlds. Good call on that one. Good call. All right. And Anonymous here writes, hey, John, have you gotten the chance to see Tenet yet? I saw it on Sunday and I loved it. Nope. As I pointed out, I unfortunately, I bought my tickets. I had my seats reserved. I got halfway to San Diego, stopped overnight in Corona, spent time with Anne's family, and couldn't get out the door in time to get down, some stuff came up. Nothing bad, but some stuff came out. Couldn't get out the door to get down to San Diego in time. So nope. Still haven't seen Tenet, and I have no idea when I'm going to get a chance to, which really sucks because it's my second most anticipated film of the year right now. Only behind Dune. Dune is the only movie that I am more excited for that I still haven't seen than Tenet. So, hey, we're living in a pandemic, guys. If my movie theaters aren't open, the movie theaters aren't open. I will try again at some point, but I just don't know how long I'm going to have to wait till I can do it again. All right, Mr. Hoover writes, hi, John and crew. Have you seen Mulan is being boycotted and audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is bad? Also, John, I was wondering when are they going to open the movie theaters here in Burbank? How much longer can these movie theaters hold out? God bless. I have no idea. I mean, the governor of California laid out certain mileposts, that have to be hit in order for them to reopen certain things. So it's all a matter of when we get there. Yeah, the boycott, I don't give a shit about that. That's stupid. I mean, it's just like boycotting movies in general, I just think is a stupid thing, but whatever. But any audience score, yeah, but here's the thing. Ignore any audience score that isn't verified. Like for Rotten Tomatoes, most movies that go into theaters now, Rotten Tomatoes started a while ago, that because they're connected in, obviously they're owned by the same company with Fandango movie tickets, they only record scores from people they verify have seen the movie. See, one of the reasons I've always said ignore audience scores. I don't care if it's on IMDb. I don't care if it's on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care if it's on anything. Ignore audience scores because anybody who hasn't seen the movie can still go and register a score. And what we have seen happen many times is groups organized through Reddit or whatever to go and review bomb a thing, right? I remember there was a big thing about, I remember when The Dark Knight came out, or it wasn't when The Dark Knight came out, but later on. The Dark Knight, I think, was like the second highest rated movie in IMDb history. And I think The Godfather was number one. And what happened was, through a bunch of social media stuff, a bunch of people organized to go to IMDb and review bomb Godfather to make Dark Knight the number one film. That's why it's that type of stuff that makes it that just ignore audience scores. Ignore audience scores. Unless, like I said, when Rotten Tomatoes shows a verified score, because they're verifying that the people who voted, you may agree or disagree with the people who voted, but the people who voted, they can verify they actually bought a ticket to the movie, right? Rather than 85 buddies who just don't like whatever, the color blue, or don't like Asian people in movies, or don't like what, can just go and review bomb something. So that's why I tell people, and for obviously for Mulan, they couldn't verify the scores because it's on Disney Plus, not in movie theaters. So ignore. Absolutely. I've said this for many, many years until Rotten Tomatoes finally got off their asses and instituted the verified audience score. Without verified audience scores, there's no point. There's no point. It's just pointless to look at it. Now, look, I'm not saying Mulan is great because I haven't seen it. I don't know that I want to dish out an extra $30 to Disney if they're not going to give me a full theatrical experience with the movie. So I haven't seen it. I may hate it, right? I might hate Disney, or not Disney. I may hate Mulan. But if I tell you I hate Mulan, you can damn well take it to the bank that I've seen Mulan first and then said I hated it. Doesn't mean you agree with me or not, but at least it'll be verified that I have actually seen it. And that's the big difference. So, yeah, anyway, there's that. All right, next up. Double Crit writes, didn't mean to misrepresent that question about Boseman. I'm not quite sure what it is we're talking about. I will try to avoid asking annoying questions like that in the future. Anyway, what are your top 20 musician biographical films, and what are your thoughts on X actor and X role? Yes, the questions that those are, yeah. So there are several questions I don't like to get, and I just generally won't address them. One is, what do you think about X actor playing X role? Unless it's actually happened, like Robert Pattinson as Batman. It's happened. It's a real thing. I can address that. Hey, John, if they ever get around to doing a Bishop movie, what actor do you think should play Bishop? Well, I don't really do X actor and X role things. I think anybody who's a talented actor, other than that, unless I've read the script, I don't know who would make a good I don't know who would be a good fit for that character the way that script is written, because I haven't read the script. Therefore, all I can do is say, as long as the person you're casting is a talented actor, I will trust you, the filmmakers, that this actor is a good fit. All I need to know first is that it's a talented actor that you get. So that's one of the ones I really don't like to ask. I really don't like to answer. And Double Crit is obviously jabbing me on that. All right. Joseph Trian, Traina, anyway, writes, one of two. Wow, John, I've been watching you since the Man of Steel days. It's amazing how many people have been watching since the Man of Steel days. And I just realized / confirmed today, as you talked about your parents' anniversary, congrats on them. Yeah, because I talked about that Friday was my parents' anniversary. That I hung out with your brother in high school. Really? You hung out with my brother, Robert. Knowing you are from Hamilton, I did wonder if you might be related. There's not many Campeas in the world. There's not a lot of Campeas you're going to find. You might be related, but when you mentioned Rob, Heather, and Sandy, those are my siblings, it clicked. I went on your Instagram and sure enough found pics of you and Rob together. Crazy small world. It is a small world. My brother, you know, it's funny. My siblings and I, my siblings and I could not be more different. And I think a part of that is, and I don't know this for sure, but I think a part of that is because I sort of grew up as an only child in a full house. And what I mean by that is I'm the firstborn in my family, right? So there was me. And then my parents waited a bunch of years. I might have been an oops. I'm not sure. My mother has never told me. She'll tell me someday. I think I might have been an oops. But I was born. And then my parents waited a bunch of years. And then they had kid. Then Heather was born. Then Sandy was born. Then Rob was born. They were all born very, very close to each other. And so I think you'll find a lot more similarities between my siblings than you will between me and my siblings. Again, because like I said, I was much more removed from them. But yeah, my brother's a character. So if you got to know him, you're a lucky guy. You're a lucky guy. All right. Dale Cooper writes, and Steel City represent. Dale Cooper writes, on Rob's recommendation, I have been watching through the AFI Top 100. Nice. Having now seen the bottom 30, and it's been great to catch up on classics and revisit old favorites. Of those 30, which are your faves? Dale, I don't know. I don't know that. I can't recite to you in order what the AFI Top 100 are. I'd like to say I can. I could sit here and pretend that I do, but honestly, I don't know what they are. So I don't know what specifically in order what the bottom 30 are. So I can't answer that question. Which are your favorites? Mine are Sunrise, 12 Angry Men, and Blade Runner. I'm actually not a Blade Runner fan. This is a point of contention between me and Robert all the time. I acknowledge that Blade Runner is a beloved film and certainly deserves its classic status because of how many people it influenced and how many people love it. And I could pretend to be cool and tell you that I loved it too, but you know me, I will always give you my honest opinion even when it's unpopular. And Blade Runner never worked for me. From my first viewing as a child, as a kid, to when I would revisit it like 10 years later, to when I revisited it again just a couple of years ago, I just never did it for me. Oddly enough, I love Blade Runner 2049. Like, I thought that was a vastly superior movie, but I'm often in the minority on that one. And I acknowledge it. I acknowledge that I'm totally in the minority of that, and that's totally fine because all film's subjective. All right. B Bunk writes, as I do most days, I listen to your show while at work. Thank you so much for letting me come along with you to work. You have stated many times that in the MCU, Black Panther doesn't have any siblings. Obviously other than Shuri, right? I mean, obviously there's Shuri, but I don't believe there's been any mention of any other siblings. Doesn't have any siblings. As I rewatch Black Panther, there is a line at the beginning of it that says he does have a younger sibling. Well, yeah, though that would be Shuri. Right? That would be Shuri. Unless it's another one. Like what I've said is a lot of people will bring up, well, in the comics this and in the comics that. And I would often say that, look, it's irrelevant what's in the comics. The comics and the movies are two different things. Right? You guys have heard me say this many times before. Civil War, the movie, ain't nothing like Civil War, the comic book story. X-Men Days of Future Past ain't nothing like the X-Men Days of Future Past in the comics. There are similar themes, but they are their own thing. The same is true of the MCU. It's its own thing. And what I've said before is that I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe there's been any mention other than Shuri that there's any other siblings. So unless they pull one out of their pocket, or unless there is a line, B-Bunk, that you're targeting that I may have missed, which is always possible, then that's what I know of it at any part. But anyway, yeah, there's that. Okay, let's move on here. That was B-Bunk. Then we already got to Joseph. Willow writes, this might be in bad taste, but Batman should have worn a proper mask. Batman always has the right gear. Every part of him is covered except his mouth. Seriously, though, I hope Pattinson, The Rock, and everyone else affected by COVID have a speedy recovery. Yeah, I mean, we never talked about Dwayne The Rock Johnson having COVID because he only revealed it to everybody once he was pretty much over it. And I do feel bad for him because he did write, like Dwayne Johnson wrote that he and his wife, they said it was really rough for a couple of weeks. He said, like, because their kids had it too. But he said, the younger you are, the easier it is. But he said for him and his wife, he said they had a really rough go for a couple of weeks, which is, I'm glad they were able to get over it. But he wrote that they had a really rough time. But they're over it. And Robert Pattinson, here's just hoping to a speedy recovery and hope he gets back on his feet soon and get back to making that Batman. Obviously, his health comes first. But once that's taken care of, get back to making that Batman movie for us. All right, thanks for that, Willow. All right, Bobby Walker writes, hi, I looked at Denzel Washington's son next to Chadwick. You're talking about John David Washington. He looks like he could play the Black Panther. Chadwick would be honored if the son of the man that helped him in acting would take the mantle. Do you think he would be a good choice? Thanks. Again, Bobby, I don't do X actor and X roles. I don't care. Look, I cannot help but chuckle a little bit, Bobby. Let me rib you a little bit here, Bobby, as my fellow film loving brother here. I can't help but smile a little bit when people say, well, look, he looks like him. Looks are completely irrelevant, right? I remember back when it became known that they were making Man of Steel. And other than Bryan Cranston, who seemed to be the legit number one pick amongst fans, even though we hadn't read a page of the script, we all thought Bryan Cranston would be the best Lex Luthor. For all we know, he would have been a terrible Lex Luthor. But actually, and when you look at the Lex Luthor we got, Bryan Cranston playing that Lex Luthor would have been a terrible match. That would have been a terrible fit. Bryan Cranston playing that version of Lex Luthor, terrible fit. If they had written Lex Luthor differently, then Bryan Cranston could have been great. But aside from Bryan Cranston, the name, other than Bryan Cranston, the name that everybody kept bringing up to play, as far as who should play Lex Luthor, was Billy Zane. Oh, people will pretend like it didn't happen now. People will pretend like it didn't happen now. Oh, but it was. Other than that, it was Billy Zane. Everybody was screaming for, other than Bryan Cranston, was screaming Billy Zane. Why? And I love Billy Zane. Don't get me wrong. I like some Zane. Everybody needs a little Zane in their life. But the reason they were all saying we want Billy Zane is because, oh my God, look at, there's this picture of Billy Zane with a shaved head. He looks just like Lex Luthor. He should be Lex Luthor. Look, he's got a shaved head. It's like, really? That's the criteria? And so I can't help but giggle a little bit when people say, well, this person looks like that person, so that person should play. I mean, to me, that on the list of 10 things that should be the most important things to consider when hiring an actor for a role, whether they physically look a certain way is probably down around number 6, 7, or 8, I think, for me. So, but listen, again, you know me, my whole thing is, the only question I care about, if Disney does decide to carry on and with Chadwick Boseman's legacy with the character of T'Challa, and they need to get an actor to carry on that legacy for Chadwick Boseman, if they go that way, all I care about is it a gifted, talented performer? That's all I ask. I haven't seen John David Washington in Tenet yet, but I liked him a lot in BlacKkKlansman, and I liked him a lot in Ballers. So if they had announced John David Washington, I'd be cool with it because he's a great actor. If they announced John Boyega, I'd be cool with it because he's a great actor. If they announced Anthony Mackie, well, I mean, obviously it can't be Anthony Mackie, but I'm just saying, if they announced Anthony Mackie, I'd be cool with it. He's a great actor. If they announced not Chadwick Boseman, obviously. If they announced Chiwetel Ejiofor, he's a great actor. I'd be for. I mean, like, there's a list of like 20 or 30 names that they could pick, and I'd be fine with it. But hey, look at them. They kind of look like each other. That's not even in the top 5. That's not even in the top 5 of important considerations for that. But anyway, that's just my opinion on that. I mean, hell, look. And nobody can imagine. Everybody has a very, very hard time today imagining anybody other than Hugh Jackman to play Wolverine. But for those of you who aren't old enough to remember, when they cast Hugh Jackman of Wolverine, everyone was pissed. He doesn't look, they should get Danzig to play Wolverine. I'm not kidding. That was a big thing at the time, that they should get Danzig to play Wolverine. Everybody said, why? Because of how he looked. He looks nothing like Wolverine. He's way too tall. He doesn't look like, that's not, well, guess what? That's fine. But now we love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because that wasn't one of the top important things. Anyway, Orange Hand writes, which Mortal Kombat character, I see what you did there, putting a K on that, would you say is the most memorable or iconic? The one that even people who aren't fans know about. I think most people would say Liu Kang. I would not. Raiden? Nope. Scorpio or Sub-Zero? It's Scorpio or Sub-Zero. Like, if you're going to talk about characters, like, look, people who have never seen a Star Wars movie, if you see Darth Vader, you instantly know that's Darth Vader. Right? You instantly know Darth Vader, whether or not you've seen it. I would say if you go outside of Mortal Kombat fans and you put up a random picture of Liu Kang, I don't know that a lot of people who know nothing about Mortal Kombat would be able to point at that and say, oh, that's Liu Kang. Or that's Raiden, played by the Highlander himself, Christopher Lambert, in the original live-action motion picture of Mortal Kombat. May not have been the best choice, but... and I'm not saying that Scorpion or Sub-Zero are household names. I'm not. But those two characters would probably get more recognition by people who know almost nothing about Mortal Kombat than even Liu Kang or Raiden would. So my guess would be Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I think it would be those two. That's just me, though. I could be wrong. Let's see. 50 Shades of Geek writes, just to clarify, when I send the tip about Wesley saying everyone wearing a mask. Oh, you're talking about the... I remember you wrote in the other day about Princess Bride and Wesley wearing a mask. It was a joke about COVID. Oh. But thanks for the story about Andre the Giant. I guess... I know your trigger word. Okay, so here's the thing. The reason I didn't get that, because I thought you meant superheroes, because Wesley wasn't wearing this kind of mask. He was wearing this kind of mask. So my head immediately went to, you're talking about superheroes? Anyway, but thank you for clarifying, 50 Shades. I appreciate that. Okay, next up. Welly writes, Kia Ora, greetings from New Zealand. Coughed up New Zealand $40 to see Disney's Mulan on Friday night. And although normal cinema tickets price in New Zealand is $10, it was worth it because we haven't seen a new movie in months. The cameo at the end, no spoilers, was a nice touch. Well, well, some people might consider that a spoiler, even just saying that there's a cameo at the end. But since I have no idea what you're talking about, I guess I don't consider that a spoiler. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Again, I am still torn just on principle about whether or not I want to shell out $30 and not get a theatrical experience out of it. Right? I don't know. See, I can watch movies at home. I spend money so I can go and have the true theatrical experience. To get together with friends and be in a room with other film fans and feel that energy and have it be an event and a night out and all that kind of stuff. To see it the way filmmakers make their movies to be seen on a big screen with real sound and all that kind of stuff. And I just don't know on principle if I'm willing to shell out 30 or 40 bucks, depending on where you live, and not get for a movie and yet not get the theatrical experience. I don't know. I may, because I really do want to see Mulan, but I'm not sure. Now, a friend of mine challenged me on that the other day and said, John, you drop 50 bucks for a UFC event. Well, yes, I will drop 50 bucks for a UFC event, but that is because I have no other option. Like, I can't get in a car and first of all, you can't get tickets to UFC. I can't get in a car and travel to Vegas for the event. And I just simply can't afford a ticket there. I can't spend $500 for seat where I can actually see the action properly, or $1,000 to get a seat where I can actually see the action properly. So my only other option is that. But I wouldn't pay $50 to watch a hockey game. I would pay $50 to go and see a hockey game live. I'm not going to spend $50 to watch a hockey game at home. I don't know. It's such a new situation. I'm trying to figure out what I think about it. And again, maybe later tonight, Ann and I might be sitting on the couch later tonight, and Ann might say, I want to watch Mulan. And I'll go, okay. And then we'll watch it. But I don't know. I'm torn between that. Here's what I'll say, though. If I don't buy Mulan in the next, I'd say 72 hours, like if I don't get and watch Mulan today, tomorrow, or by Tuesday, it's probably a 0% chance I ever will. I'll probably then wait till December. So if I'm going to get it, I'll probably have to get it in the next 72 hours. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Thanks for that, Welly. Ashley M. writes, in honor of Chadwick Boseman, I watched his guest appearance on one of my favorite shows, Cold Case. He plays a young politician that wants to clean up the streets, but meets an untimely death. The ending is now heartbreaking. It's from season 6, episode 10. I never really did watch Cold Case. Honestly, I think the only episode of Cold Case I ever watched was an episode of Cold Case, and if I'm thinking, I think it's the right show, that Erin Cummings was on. Erin Cummings played like a pinup girl on an episode of Cold Case, and she invited a bunch of friends over to her house. She was living in Hollywood at the time, to all get together and watch her appearance in this, network show, Cold Case. Now, obviously, she's had a ton of network shows since, but it was still a relatively new thing for her at that time. But I think that's the only other episode of Cold Case I've ever seen. But that's neat that you got to see him pop up, because again, Chadwick did do a bunch of television work before he got his finally got his break in movies. All right, Ashley Ann also writes, fun fact, Erin Cummings. Speaking of which, fun fact, Erin Cummings was in an episode of Cold Case. Yes, she was. Season 6, episode 9, Cold Case is available on the Roku channel. Very underrated cop drama. Tessa Thompson makes a great appearance. Oh, I didn't know about that. In season 2, episode 22, as a lesbian in love with a white girl in the 1930s. Well, that sounds interesting. Did they time travel in Cold Case? That would be interesting to see. But yeah, I think that was the only episode that I ever saw. I think that's the only one I ever saw. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Ashley. All right, next up. Abel writes, hey, John, I've been watching you since the AMC days. Well, thank you so much for that. I was about 10 when I first watched, and I've been hooked ever since. Thank you so much, Abel. As I just started my first year of college. Anyway, my question is over under 10% that Marvel releases an extended cut of Endgame for Disney Plus. Good question. I 100% believe, 99% believe, I 99% believe that there is going to be an Endgame extended edition. But I think they're going to release it in theaters. I think they're going to release it theatrically. And one of the reasons, there are going to be two reasons to release it theatrically. One, to make millions of dollars. Two, to make Endgame the #1 film at the box office again. Now you might be saying, but John, Endgame is already the #1 film all time at the box office. Yes, but not for long. You see, I believe that before Disney puts out Avatar 2, I think they're going to put Avatar, the first Avatar, back out in theaters. And when they do, it's going to pass Endgame for the #1 spot worldwide again. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, because what they want to do for their marketing for Avatar 2, they want to say, come back and see the sequel to the #1 film of all time. And the way they do that, because remember right now, I could be off by a little bit, but I think Avatar is only like $6 or $7 million behind Endgame. Like it's like that much. So I think what they will do is, I think, and I'm just speculating here, I think Disney is going to take Avatar, put it back in theaters shortly before the release of Avatar 2, and it will reclaim the number 1 spot at the all-time box office. And then later, Disney will put out Endgame, the extended edition, in theaters to make the $3 or $4 million it needs to make for it to retake the number 1 spot in the world. So I think, and then it'll go on Disney Plus. But I think my guess, and it's just a guess, my guess right now is the first place it'll go is to theaters. And then after it's in theaters for like 2 weeks or a week and a half, then they'll put it on Disney Plus. So 2 reasons. 1, so they can make millions and millions of dollars. 2, so they can make it reclaim the number 1 all-time box office spot. That's my guess at any point. All right. Let's see here. That was Abel. Thanks for writing that in, Abel. BC33 writes, I got my tickets for Tenet on Sunday. I'm very excited. Now I'm a little bit jealous. Thankfully, the theaters opened up here in Napa because I don't know how much longer I could have gone without seeing it. My country may have been on fire again, but at least I can see movies now. LOL. Well, I hope you're able to go see it, and I hope you have a good time at it. I was supposed to see it Saturday, and just, hey, life happens. I didn't get to go see it. Anyway, hopefully I'll get to see it again, too. I hope you have a good time, BC33, and I'm a little bit jealous that theaters are open near you. All right, an anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, it's me again. Okay. Anonymous. Expect to see me once or twice a month. I recently just started to see one of your old reviews for Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was nostalgic. Hearing John Schnepp brought me to tears. It also reminded me of how shocking it was when he passed. Absolutely. Sorry. Oh, this is part 2. So it's Abel. Abel wrote this. Sorry, I think I forgot to put out my name. It was similar to how I received the news of Chadwick Boseman. Legends that were lost too soon. Long live the King of Wakanda and the King of the Sweaties. The difference... Well, I mean, there's many, many differences between, when we lost John Schnepp versus when we lost Chadwick Boseman. For those of us that knew John Schnepp, we knew him. I mean, we didn't know Chadwick Boseman. I'll say this. For those of us who knew John Schnepp, when he did pass away, we were prepared. Because those of us who knew him, we knew for a while that he was gone, that he wasn't going to be recovering. We knew for a bit that he wasn't going to be recovering. And it was now just a matter of time. And so I'll never forget, I was at Comic-Con and I was doing my Masters of the Web panel. And Rob was there too. And after the panel was done, we stepped outside of the theater and we were talking to fans and things like that. And then I turned my phone back on, and Rob and I think we both turned our phones on at the same time, and that's when we got the word that Schnepp had officially passed away. And it was, I mean, I'll never forget where I was, but at the same time, there wasn't a shock. I know there was shock for most people, but for us, it wasn't shock. There was something different. I don't know what word to use to describe it. With Chadwick Boseman, it was shock. It was shock. Now, I know a lot of people knew he was sick. I mean, I remember when they put up those pictures of him in that video that he put out. Like, I know a lot of people. I mean, I wrote it off. I was so wrong. I was like, he's just losing weight for a role. Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is. He's not sick. Come on, everybody. Yeah, well, I was wrong. There were a lot of you guys who, hey, listen, credit to a lot of you guys who said, like, even when I was on my show saying, oh, come on, guys, obviously he's just losing weight for a role like Christian Bale did and stuff like that. He's obviously, and Tom Hanks has done, he's obviously just losing weight for a role. To credit you guys, a lot of you guys wrote in and said, you know what, John, no, that, I've seen this before. I remember some of you had written into me and said, no, I've seen that before. I've seen that look before. He's sick. And I didn't believe it. I think there's a lot of us who didn't believe it. And so for people like me who didn't believe that, when I'm sitting there and watching Bill and Ted 3, which is what I was doing at the time, and I check my phone, and I think it might have been my buddy Soul was the first one to text me and say, Chadwick Boseman just died. And I'm like, what? And then within about 20 seconds, my phone was blowing up. And so that was the big difference, you know, like for one, I was expecting it. I was ready for it. I knew it was coming, and then it happened. And that's a very different emotion that hits you. With Chadwick Boseman, who I didn't know at all, it was shock. And I'm sure for a lot of people, it wasn't shocking because, again, I think a lot of you guys did know and you called it, and I was wrong and you were right. But yeah, for me, it was total shock. And that was one of the big things. Anyway, Abel, thanks for writing that in, man. All right. Let's see. That was Abel. Dark Lord of Dank writes, have you watched the show Superstore? I never have. I always see it advertised, and it looks like a pretty fun show, but I've never watched an episode. On NBC, it's a sitcom about retail work. Like, it looks like it's a kind of a Walmart kind of store, right? Walmart, Target kind of store. And very relatable. It's not as good as The Office, but it's really funny and enjoyable workplace comedy in a post office and Parks and Rec world. All 5 seasons are on Hulu. Yeah, you know what? At some point, I should watch that because I've seen it advertised so much, I mean, over the years, and I never thought it looked bad. I always thought, oh, that looks like it could be cute. And I just never did. I just never watched a single, you know, I think at some point I will. I don't know when I'll get around to it. But I think at some point I will do that. Thanks for putting that back on the radar, Dark Lord of Dank. All right, Batman Needs a Mask writes, shaggy hair, eye makeup, and maybe a little out of shape. It looks like we're finally getting the emo Batman I've always wanted. I wish him the quickest and easiest recovery from COVID. Hey, listen, first of all, the black eye makeup is something every Batman needs to have because they all have it. They all have it. When you look really closely at every Batman outfit, there's clearly the actor underneath is wearing black eye makeup around it. So it's got to be there. Shaggy hair, of course, you wear that cowl and fight in it and run in it and sweat in it and then take it off. What do you think your hair is going to look like? So I don't think it's an emo Batman. I thought it looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I thought, like, yeah, I didn't like the I'm vengeance line. That was a little corny to me. And I didn't like, this is how hard I got to look for something to nitpick about. I didn't like his hair as Bruce Wayne. Like, if I'm looking for something to say that I didn't like about the trailer, that's how nitpicky I have to get. Because I loved everything else about it. That was a great trailer. I think Matt Reeves is going to deliver the goods. I really do. I think Matt Reeves is really going to deliver the goods. All right, Tug Speedman writes, nice name. Hey, John, I think the perfect person to continue the legacy of the Black Panther is Robert Downey Jr. Just get a little bit of that Tropic Thunder action going, and he's good to go. But no, in all seriousness, R.I.P. Chadwick, he will be missed. No, absolutely, he will be. And you know what? I don't mind making a joke and laughing a little bit. I'm the type of guy, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I am the type of guy that when crappy stuff happens, I generally laugh. It's just the way I cope. You know, I'll never forget this one time, the hills in Burbank were literally like the countryside was on fire. And I took my phone and I stood outside my building and I showed, hey, so this is me, flip my phone around. There are the hills behind me and they're on fire. And I'm laughing. And I remember I got some really angry comments on that. It's like, how can you be laughing in a situation like that? This is serious. This isn't a joke and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, look, you deal with traumatic stuff your way. I'll deal with it mine. And the way I often deal with really crappy stuff, my instinct is to laugh. Is to laugh at it. I don't know why. This is kind of my mechanism, I suppose. And not to mention, I think laughter is really healing. I think laughter is really healing. And laughter can help be something that navigates us from mourning to celebration. And I'm like, when somebody I know passes, I mourn for a moment. Well, I mourn when it's somebody I know, I mourn for a lifetime. But I quickly pivot then to celebrating who they were and what they did in life and the impact they made. And I think laughter sometimes is that good pivot that can take us from one to the next. I mean, I don't know. So there will be some people who might say it's in bad taste. I look at it and say, I think that's an honor. I think that's a celebration. I think being able to laugh a little bit, even in dire situations, sometimes is a way to celebrate what that person meant and what they represented and stuff. But anyway, that's just me. All right, Brandon writes, John, a war is brewing between Warner Brothers and Ray Fisher. I saw the latest on this. Have you seen the latest developments in this situation? Yikes. I see Ray Fisher getting fired. I have. Look, I tend to ignore the little TMZ bullshit. Like, oh, this actor doesn't like this, that actor's unhappy. I tend to ignore that kind of shit because mostly because I wasn't there. So I don't know. Look, for those of you who don't know what Brandon's talking about, there was a big article. Let me see if I can bring it up here. There was a big article, and hold on a second. Where did it go? Here we are. Here's this article. Let me see if I can bring this up here. This article came out in Deadline, which was basically, I'll see if I make this font a little bigger so you guys can see it better. Warner Brothers responding to Ray Fisher said Joss Whedon, Jeff Johns, and was it Berg were like abusive and all this kind of stuff. Deadline reported this. This is a statement that came from Warner Brothers. In July, Ray Fisher's representatives asked DC Films president Walter Hamada to talk to Mr. Fisher about his concerns during the production of Justice League. The two had previously spoken when Mr. Hamada asked him to reprise his role as Cyborg in Warner Brothers' upcoming Flash movie together with other members of the Justice League. In their July conversation, Mr. Fisher recounted disagreements he had with the film's creative team regarding his portrayal as Cyborg. Okay, so far so good. It is what it is. His portrayal as Cyborg. Mr. Hamada, his portrayal as Cyborg, and complained that his suggested script revisions were not adopted. Mr. Hamada explained that creative differences are a normal part of the production process and that a film's writers and / director ultimately have to be in charge of these matters. Notably, Mr. Hamada also told Mr. Fisher that he would elevate his concerns to Warner Media so they could conduct an investigation. At no time did Mr. Hamada ever throw anyone under the bus, as Mr. Fisher has falsely claimed, or render any judgment about the Justice League production, in which Mr. Hamada had no involvement since filming occurred before Mr. Hamada was elevated to his current position. While Mr. Fisher never alleged any actionable misconduct against him, Warner Media nonetheless initiated an investigation into the concerns he raised about his character's portrayal. Still not satisfied, Mr. Fisher insisted that Warner Media hire an independent third-party investigator. This investigator has attempted multiple times to meet with Mr. Fisher to discuss his concerns, but to date, Mr. Fisher has declined to speak with the investigator. Warner Brothers remains committed to accountability to the well-being of every cast and crew member on each of its productions. It also remains committed to investigating any specific and credible allegation of misconduct, which thus far Mr. Fisher has failed to provide. So that was Warner Brothers' response to the John Boyega thing. Now, look, I have said this before. I will say it again. I wasn't there, so I don't know what the truth is. I believe something, but believing something does not mean you know with 100% confidence that it is factually true, right? Like, I believe if Alistair Overeem punches me in the face, I'm going to go to sleep. But maybe I'll just lose 3 or 4 teeth, have a busted nose, and just see stars for an hour, but I'll still be conscious, right? I believe if he hits me, I'm going to sleep. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know that's factually true. Maybe I'll just be a bloody mess laying on the ground crying like a baby. That's totally possible too. So I can believe one thing, but it doesn't mean I know that that's true, right? Somebody can ask you, do you believe in ghosts? Well, I could give an answer to that. Yeah, I have a belief about whether or not there are ghosts, but that's not me saying that that is 100% absolute fact, because I don't know. And when it comes to this, I get a lot of people ask me about this a Ray Fisher situation. And, you know, the bottom line is, I was never there. I wasn't there. So I don't know. I'll tell you what I think, but I don't know. I don't believe Ray Fisher. But there is a massive difference between saying I don't believe Ray Fisher because I'm only saying what I believe based on the very, very, very finite amount of information that I have. Based on the finite amount of information I have, okay, I believe Warner Brothers in this case. I don't believe Ray Fisher. But I don't know that. I don't know that. Like, when Ray Fisher says he was abused, well, what does that mean? Does it mean that somebody physically hit him and that he was physically attacked? Does it mean that, you know, a bunch of people just started hurling, you know, racial slurs at him? Did it mean that Joss Whedon or Jeff Johns or whatever made him fetch their coffee and say, if you don't do it right, we're going to make sure you never work in this business again? Is that what he means by abused? Or does he mean his boss yelled at him? You know? I don't know. Did Ray Fisher, like we read in this article that Ray Fisher gave script suggestions about the way he wanted his character portrayed. He got turned down. So I don't know, did he say, well, I want to do it this way? And did finally the director and other people on set have enough of it and say, and yell at him and say, look, you hired to do the job. This is the job. That's a script. Go say your damn lines and do your damn job. Like, did they yell at him? And does he call because I got yelled at? That's abuse. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. I do find it interesting that Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, no one else on that set has said anything to back up what Ray Fisher is saying. Again, does that mean that Ray Fisher is lying? Nope, because we don't know. We weren't there. We weren't there. And so I may believe one thing, but our beliefs change as new information comes to light. So today I may say, this looks like a messy situation. If you're asking me, do you believe what Ray Fisher's saying? I'll say no. But that could change tomorrow if new information comes out. The little tiny, tiny, tiny bit of information I see, I believe one thing. But at the end of the day, if you're being honest, you have to say you simply don't know because you weren't there. And if Joss Whedon like picked up chairs and threw them at Ray Fisher and all that kind of stuff, was physically abusive, threatened his career, whatever. Hey, if that happened, fuck Jeff Johns, fuck Joss Whedon, fuck Warner Brothers. But I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that. But if that's the case, screw them. Screw them all. If it's just a matter that Ray Fisher hadn't had any big movie set experience before and he thought the movie stars got to call all the shots and he was just mad that he didn't get things his way, which, by the way, there's no proof of that either. But if that's the case, well, then screw him. Grow up. So, I don't know. It is regardless, it is a very unfortunate situation for Ray Fisher. It's a very unfortunate situation for the other individuals involved. It's a very unfortunate situation for Warner Brothers. Because look, there have been a lot of people that have been very excited about the Snyder Cut. There's a lot of people who have been very excited about it. And whether or not you or somebody who's excited about it or not, it is unfortunate that right now this is what everybody's got to talk about instead of just being excited for the coming of Snyder Cut. It's unfortunate. But again, it's an ugly situation. And I wasn't there. You and I don't know what the truth is. And that's why I don't make stuff like this. Whether it's Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, whether it's John Boyega or Ray Fisher. That's why when I'm doing the John Campea Show, I do not make any of that TMZ bullshit our main topics. I don't make that TMZ bullshit any of our main topics. And there may have been times before when I've done it and regretted it. So I try not to make that shit our main topics because we weren't there. There's just simply no knowing. And if more proof and evidence comes out to support Warner Brothers, if more proof or evidence comes out to support Ray Fisher, well, then we change what we believe. But until then, is what it is. All right. Let's move on here. Let's see here. Shadow Jester writes, John and guest, I hope you enjoyed and will enjoy Tenet. I wish I did, but I haven't seen it. My question. It's the future and Nolan has done a first, deciding to make a sequel to one of his films. Is it called Nine or 11 Eveli? I have I'll be honest with you. If there's a joke in there, it's gone right over my head. I admit it. So sorry about that. Anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, the Joker premiered 1 year ago at Venice. I don't see much talking about the movie now, even on your show. How do you rate the movie now, especially after multiple views? And is Joker 2 still happening? Well, I mean, listen, we're not really talking about any of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture last year, really, unless there's news. Like whenever news comes out about Joker, we talk about it. We talk about it. When Joker sets a new milestone, we talk about it. When there's when an interview is done talking about the future of Joker, we talk about it. We definitely do. I believe, remember, Joker 2 has never been 100% greenlit. Let's be 100% clear about that. It's never been officially greenlit. So when you ask, is it still happening? Well, technically, it was never officially happening. I believe it's going to happen. I absolutely 99% believe it's going to happen. I mean, when you get a movie that gets nominated for Best Picture, is based on a beloved iconic character, and it made over $1 billion at the box office, the studios want to make another one. So I believe it'll happen. I just don't know how soon or when, because obviously nothing really significant is happening too much in the world of movies right now in the midst of the pandemic. All right, let's see here. The Nightman writes, have you been catching up with the Ray Fisher versus Warner Brothers abuse investigation? It sounds messy as F for both sides, and I can't see either side coming out of this clean. What do you think the chances are we see him as Cyborg again after all of this? Well, I'm not going to repeat everything I just said. Two things. I don't think there's a very good chance we see him as Cyborg again for two reasons. Number one, I don't know that Warner Brothers is going to want to work with him again. But number two, if what Ray Fisher is saying is true, I can't see him wanting to work with Warner Brothers again, right? So I can't see either party right now wanting to work with each other again. I mean, that may change. That could change. But let's look at it from both sides. If what Ray Fisher is saying isn't true, then of course Warner Brothers isn't going to want to work with him again. But if what Ray Fisher is saying is true, he wouldn't want to work with Warner Brothers again himself. So it seems like a double damned kind of situation. Again, it's messy, it's ugly. I mean, whichever side is right or wrong, it's just a mess for everybody. And unfortunately, I think if there was any hope before of them doing more Cyborg, I think that chances have dropped by at least 70 or 80%. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's certainly not impossible. But I think whatever the odds were before this mess of there ever being another Cyborg with Ray Fisher, I think that's dropped significantly. Not to zero, but I think it's dropped. Because if Ray is straight up telling the truth, I don't see how Ray would ever want to work with Warner Brothers again. If Warner Brothers is straight up right, I can't see how they would want to work with Ray again. So I just don't see a way out of this. But, also never thought Ben Affleck would be Batman again. And we're getting Batman again with Ben Affleck. Even if it's small, whatever, we're still getting that. So we'll have to wait and see. Silly Goose writes, I saw Tenet. It was loud. I don't know if it was just the theater I saw it in, but my grandkids are going to feel the sound waves that tore through my body watching this movie. I will be buying this one on 4K when I can. 8 out of 10. -2 for my diddling ears. Hey, listen, one of the things we've talked about this before is that one of the criticisms that Christopher Nolan sometimes gets, even from his most diehard of fans, is that the audio mix on his movies is sometimes questionable. To the point that there have been several examples of different movies where people say dialogue is barely discernible because everything else is louder compared to the dialogue. You can't hear it. To certain things are just too loud. Certain things are just too quiet. He is one of the greatest filmmakers of our generation. But again, like I said, even amongst his most hardcore fans, the one criticism you do see popping up now and again is the sound mix of his movies. And so I haven't seen Tenet yet, so I can't speak to that, but I will see it sooner rather than later, I hope. Sooner rather than later, I hope. And then once I do, I'll let you know what I think about his sound mix as well. All right, next up. Thank you, Silly Goose. An anonymous viewer writes, Hey, John. It's amazing in this weekend we had 3 episodes of Raised by Wolves on HBO Max, which I can't watch because HBO doesn't care about Roku users. 3 episodes of The Boys on Prime. Awake with Hilary Swank dropped on Netflix, and HBO is still killing it with Lovecraft Country. We are in the golden age of streaming. I watched the first 3 episodes of The Boys, season 2. Loved it. Loved it. I had seen the opening scene before. There's the opening scene of episode 1 of season 2 of The Boys involves a black noir, but they released that opening scene online a couple of months ago. A couple of months ago, they released the opening scene of season 2, episode 1. So I'd seen that before, but I just love the direction it's all going. There are many surprises to me. I love the way that it's going. I suspected I was really going to like this new Stormfront character, and I do. I'm not going to say anything else. I like what they're doing with the Deep. It's really weird. Like, I'm not going to give any spoiler away, but only those who have seen it will know what I'm talking about. I've Got You, Babe. No, sorry. I take that back. Wrong song. You Are So Beautiful to Me. You are so beautiful to me. For those of you who've seen the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What the F was that? I'm loving it. Unfortunately, again, I don't have HBO Max, so I haven't been able to see Raised by Wolves. And I have not yet seen episode 3 of Lovecraft Country. So I'm going to get on that probably today. Probably some point today or tonight, Ann and I will sit down and watch episode 3. And because episode 4 has got to be coming out soon too, or it might already be out. We're a little bit behind. Anyway, there's some good stuff being made right now. Some good stuff. And by the way, if you have not watched Umbrella Academy yet, make sure you watch Umbrella Academy too, because that's just awesome stuff. All right. Wakandan Forever writes, John, I just wanted to say happy anniversary to your parents. The death of Chadwick Boseman, King T'Challa, has been hard. It was a good reminder to appreciate the people we still have. If this internet thing doesn't work out, you and Ann always have Wakanda. Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing is, hey, listen, I'll tell you what. When Ann wanted to go back to school and get her 4th degree, I was more than happy to pay for that because, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm investing in the John Early Retirement Fund. Yep. Because if this internet thing doesn't work out, we've been building Ann's career. Zevia, sponsor me, you sons of bitches. We have been slowly building Ann's career over the course of our marriage. That's my early retirement plan, is Ann's career. No, I mean, it's great now that we're at a point Or if the internet thing doesn't work out, Anne's got us. I mean, I had us for a lot of years in our marriage. Now Anne can have us. It'll be good. Anyway, yeah, thanks for that, Wakanda Forever. And thanks for the well wishes for my parents' anniversary. Wakanda Forever also writes, quick Wakandan movie review. Mulan takeaways. All Asian cast, good story, fun action, and visually stunning. It would have been nice to see the visuals on the big screen. I liked it. Worth $29.99 for a family film, especially if you have a young daughter. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Again, I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence about it. Maybe today I'll watch it. But again, if I don't watch it in the next 72 hours, I think there's almost a 0% chance I will until it comes out on Disney Plus for everybody in December for free. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm glad you had a chance to enjoy it, Wakanda Forever. Thanks for the quick little insight on that. Yusuf writes, this is going to sound controversial, but I feel this way. I think for the most part, the heavier divisions of boxing and MMA suck. There's not skill. Oh, so wrong. So incorrect. No technique, no real fight IQ, just big guys hurling punches at each other. Francis's last fight was him just punching the air for 20 seconds until a punch finally landed. There are exceptions, but it's not like when I watch a guy like Triple G or Khabib going against top-tier competition and have to be skillful to win. To me, those guys are real killers. No, I 1,000% disagree with you, Yusuf. 1,000% disagree with you. When you watch like a fight like last night, Alistair Overeem, oh my God. That fight last night, and I'm sure most of you didn't see, Alistair Overeem fought last night in the heavyweight division, took on I believe the number 8 heavyweight in the world last night, knocked him out. That was beautiful technique. And by the way, this kid he was fighting fought a good fight too, looked really good. But from a technical standpoint, it was a beautifully fought fight from Alistair Overeem. Like a lot of people I saw online going, "Oh, Alistair lost the first 2 rounds." I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, I think he lost. I think he lost round 2, but I thought he actually won round 1. And a lot of the stuff was when you watched Alistair Overeem, his defense was insane. Like, yeah, there was a couple times he got backed against the cage, and the guy started throwing big flurries. But out of all those flurries, maybe like one body shot landed or one elbow over the top kind of landed. But everything else, it was perfect defensive technique. He avoided a lot of the crap. When he got cornered, he went into the perfect shell. He deflected, blocked, absorbed a lot of the shots that came in. When you watched a guy like Frank Mir back in the day, like some of the best, it used to be like some of the best jiu-jitsu guys were the heavyweights. There was a time when the best jiu-jitsu guys were heavyweights. It's just a different fight. Because here's the thing. Flyweights, lightweights, welterweights, they do not have the power of, say, light heavyweights or heavyweights. They simply don't. Like, if Khabib had absolute legit one-shot knockout power, you can bet your ass he would utilize that more. He would utilize that. But he doesn't have. He's the baddest man on the planet, but he does not have legit, true, one-shot nuclear arsenal unleashed with one punch power. He doesn't have that. When you watch a guy like Francis Ngannou, who will take down the Empire State Building with one punch, you look for that shot. And you just say, oh, just threw a bunch of punches in the air. No, Ngannou stalked him down. He tracked him down. He started throwing a lot of things. And by throwing, he had the guy on his heels, backing up. And what did that do? It eventually exposed him. Boom, he was able to land with that nuclear arsenal. So you get into the heavyweights. And yes, it's a different set because these are bigger, heavier guys, so they're a bit slower. But there's more of an emphasis on power because that's where it is. You get to it's just a different kind of fight. But I 1,000% disagree with your assessment that there's no skill in the heavyweights. Then you have not watched enough heavyweight fights. I can't speak to heavyweight boxing. I haven't watched heavyweight boxing in over a decade. But as far as the UFC, some of the most exciting stuff is to watch in heavyweight. Like when I watched Stipe versus Cormier 3, that was a beautiful fight. That was a beautiful fight. And don't tell me there's no skill there. Do not tell me there's no skill there. Anyway, sorry, I had a bit of a jump there. Let me get back to where I was. That was Yusuf. All right, now we're up to D-Train, who writes, saw Tenet and I was impressed. I think it's Nolan's most ambitious film to date. Like everyone said, it requires a second viewing. One thing that Nolan improved was the hand-to-hand combat scenes. It's my favorite movie of the year. Spoiler review soon? Well, no spoiler review till I see the damn thing. Can't spoil what I haven't seen. Although, maybe I should do a spoiler review, but of a totally made-up movie that I just make up Tenet in my head. Okay, guys, I made up Tenet in my head. Now I'm going to do a spoiler review. Maybe I should do that. But no, I haven't seen Tenet yet. Hopefully I get to see it soon. Once I do, I'll probably do a regular review and a spoiler review for it. Not that there's a lot of people who haven't had a chance to see it, but hopefully I'll get that chance, D-Train. Anyway, thanks for your input on that. Like, to me, without seeing Tenet, the most ambitious film to me he ever did was Interstellar. That was a gutsy, very, very ambitious film to make, Interstellar. And not one of my favorite Nolan films, if I'm honest. It's not one of my favorite ones. I still like it very much, but not one of my favorite Nolan films. But I think that one was his most ambitious. I'll be curious to see once I see Tenet if I agree with you that this one is now the most ambitious. All right, next up. Ricky writes, hey, John, hope everything is well. Love the show. Thank you so much, Ricky. Last night, me and a couple of friends got high last night, and we went to see Tenet. We had a great time. Tenet is now my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. 10 out of 10. Well, let's see if you still think that if you see it when you're not high. Let's see if you still think that when you're not high. But, hey, the important thing is you got to go out. You got to go to the theatrical experience. You had a good time at the movies. That's the bottom line, Ricky. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm looking forward to when I finally get a chance to go see it too, man. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. Eddie Burton writes, seems to be a lot of back and forth between Ray Fisher and Warner Brothers, with Fisher being the aggressor. Will that hurt the Snyder Cut's release at all? Or will it just put an asterisk next to Fisher's name? I'm not sure. I don't think either way that this is going to hurt the release of Snyder Cut. Right? I don't think this is going to they decided not to release Snyder Cut anymore. No, I don't see that happening. I mean, you never know, but I don't think that that's going to happen. But it is unfortunate that right now, this is what everybody's talking about. Instead of everybody talking about, especially coming off of DC Fandom, instead of everybody talking about how excited they are for Snyder Cut, right now everybody's talking about this big war brewing between the studio that is financing and making it possible for there to be a Snyder Cut and one of the actors in it. That's not the look Ray Fisher wants. That's not the look that Warner Brothers wants. This isn't the look anybody wants. So it's, and you know what? Unfortunately, I just see it getting more messy. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It is unfortunate, Eddie. All right. Brian Walmer writes, hey, John, hope you're doing well. I am doing well, my friend. Thank you. I have two questions. Well, we'll answer one of them. One, what are your thoughts on the Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer music video? Two, what are your thoughts on the Nancy don't just get the political nonsense out of here. I don't address that shit. As far as the Peter Gabriel, what did I think about it when it first came out? Dude, what was I? I was 12 when the Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer thing first. So I have no idea. I have no recollection of when it first came out. I will tell you that as a grown-ass man today, it's amazing. Like when I look at that Sledgehammer, like it's so artistically different from anything that was being done at the time, but also completely original, different from anything being done today. It is one of the most unique music videos ever. It's absolutely one of the most unique music videos ever. But again, I cannot personally speak to what was my reaction to it when it first came out. I was way too young, so I have no idea, Brian. But yeah, it's an iconic music video. Derek Woodron writes, who supported the channel by tipping $20. Thank you so much, Derek, for your support, man. Hey, John. Well, you have still not let me down. I'm hooked on Kim's Convenience. Awesome. No true babies made, no, not true. Babies made in vagina. Man, so many funny lines. I'm telling you, dude, this show, Kim's Convenience, Kim's Convenience. Let me bring it up here. This show, Kim's Convenience, is so funny. But here's the key thing. It's not just funny. It has incredible heart. It is a show with amazing heart. Ann and I, we got back from Ann's family's place last night. And before I started working, like this is like 9:30 at night, before I started working on stuff, we said, hey, let's get in an episode of Kim's Convenience. And we sat down and watched another episode of Kim's Convenience. It is a show with heart, but it is absolutely bloody hilarious. This is a show, by the way, this dude right here, the one in the corner, that's your new MCU Shang-Chi. That's the star of the new MCU movie, everybody, right there. So go and watch Kim's Convenience if you want to get a sense of him. Anyway, it is a show that I liken unto The Office and Parks and Rec. I'm not saying it's on the same level as The Office and Parks and Rec, but The Office and Parks and Rec, some of you have heard me say this before, are shows that when I'm grabbing dinner or lunch and I just want to put something on, I know I can put on either The Office or Parks and Rec, then play random roulette. I can close my eyes and just go through on Netflix and hit a random episode of The Office or Parks and Rec, and it doesn't matter because I know whatever episode comes on, I'm going to laugh. Kim's Convenience has become one of those shows for me. It is a Canadian show. I feel so stupid that I'm so late to the party on it. It's just absolute amazing. And the dad in the middle there, Appa, he is, I'm going to probably put up on Twitter. I don't tweet very much, but I'll probably put up on Twitter later, like a graphic of my 5 favorite characters on television over the past number of years. And I'm not quite sure who they're all going to be, but Mark Sheppard as Crowley in Supernatural, Tom Ellis as Lucifer in Lucifer. But I'm telling you right now, Appa is going to be one of the guys in my top 5 favorite characters on television over the past 10, 15 years. One of them is going to be Ope from Sons of Anarchy. I'm not sure who's going to be my 5th, but he's going to be one of them. It is such a great show, guys. Seriously, I know I've been pimping this show a lot lately, but I cannot recommend it highly enough. Derek, I'm glad you had a chance to check it out, and I'm glad you're enjoying it because I really enjoy it too. Anyway, thanks for that. Let's see here. Next up, Wakandan Forever writes, this morning, out of respect for Chadwick Boseman, I watched Get On Up. Nice. I must confess, I never saw it. After Black Panther, everything else disappeared and was all I cared about. Epic firework display indeed. I never knew I could smile and cry at the same time. King T'Challa, our warrior, our hero, and our king, Wakanda Forever. Yeah, listen, that's why, like, when they announced Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, understandably, a lot of people's reaction was, who? I get that. Because he'd only done some small guest spots on television and he'd done a couple of movies, neither of which were huge box office hits, but one was 42. That was the more notable one. But then he did this movie playing James Brown called Get On Up, directed by Tate Taylor, who also directed The Help. And to me, it's his best performance. And I love him as T'Challa in Black Panther. Absolutely, I do. But his best performance, to me, and I'm not saying it was the best movie. I'm not saying Get On Up was better than Black Panther. Not at all. But if we're just talking about Chadwick Boseman's performance, his performance as James Brown in Get On Up, I think is the crown jewel. No pun intended. But I think that is the crown jewel of his career. I really do. His performance in that was jaw-dropping. And so when they announced Chadwick Boseman was going to be playing T'Challa, I'm like, hell yes. Because I had seen 42 and I had seen Get On Up. And I'm like, oh yeah, hell yes. This is a great choice. And I'm glad you had a chance to check it out, Wakanda Forever. All right. A guy who's great in bed writes, greetings, John. I noticed your most popular video is the 2-hour Avengers 4 theories Q&A. What are your takeaways on how/why that one specifically is at number 1, nearing your first million views, by the way? I had no idea. Thanks, and keep bringing the filthy. I had no idea. I honestly didn't. I generally don't keep track of that stuff. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's funny the way the YouTube algorithm works. Now, look, honestly, I don't make videos. Like, here's the thing. I belong to an MCN, a multi-channel network. A lot of bigger YouTubers do. Some smaller YouTubers like me do as well. And I belong to a fairly significant one. And I am constantly getting emails from them. Honestly, they're not much use to me. This MCM I belong to be honest with you, they're not much use to me. But they're constantly sending out these like emails about, and basically it's like, we're going to do a seminar for all of our YouTubers, come and how to make the videos that are going to get the most views, how to do this, and how to pick which topics you should be doing that are going to give you the most views on your channel, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do any of that shit. I don't do any of the stuff that they recommend. None of it. It's not that I don't want people to watch my channel. Of course I do. But I don't make videos to get views. Like, I know how to make videos that'll just get some views. Do a lot of top 10 lists, do some big, like some trailer reactions, put a lot of hate content out. That'll get a lot of views. Hey, listen, it's not a coincidence. Let me see if I can find it here. Let me see if I can get it. I'm not sure that I can, but let me see if I can find it. I recently put out 2 editorial videos back to back. Okay? 2 editorial videos back to back that I'm quite proud of. All right? One of them was my video, probably my favorite video that I've made in the last number of years. It's called The Case for Man of Steel, the most underrated comic book film of all time, right? I made that's like a 27-minute editorial video, but I made it. The Case for Man of Steel. It's probably one of my I'm most proud of videos that I've ever made. The Case for Man of Steel, the most underrated comic book film of all time. Now, just before I did that one, I did another similar one called what did I call it? Disney Star Wars fan. That's me, Disney Star Wars fan, on why Rise of Skywalker failed 5 months later. Right? So, on one hand, we have The Case for Man of Steel, which is a positive video, right? It's a positive video. Why I think this is the most underrated comic book film of all time. It's a positive video. Meanwhile, I did one that, while the point was not to be negative, but it is a more negative video on why Rise of Skywalker failed from the perspective of a Disney Star Wars fan. It's not a coincidence that the one that has the negative title and is going negative, even though the point in me making that video was not to go negative, but I admit by nature, when you're talking about, okay, why something worked, that's a positive one. Why something failed, that's more negative. It's not a coincidence that the negative one out of those 2 videos is the one with more views. Even though, and I personally think my Rise of Skywalker video is awesome. It's an awesome video. But I honestly think my Man of Steel video is the better video. So even though the Man of Steel video is the better video, the one that skews a little bit more negative is the one that gets more views. So like the Man of Steel one has like 91,000 views, whereas the Why Rise of Skywalker Failed has 112,000 views. Even though the Man of Steel video is the better video, I think. And I'm proud of both of those videos. Myself, Fact Checker Jonathan, put a lot of work into those 2 videos. But I personally think the Man of Steel video is the better video. But even though that's the case, the negative one's got over 20,000 more views than that one does. And I know, I mean, you go to some YouTube channels and every single video, why this sucks. And the next video is, why that person's stupid. And the next video title is, why this is a stupid, stupid thing. And then the next video is, why this is a stupid, stupid, stupid thing. And why I hate this person. And every single video title is those. Well, it's partially because they know that hate videos get clicks, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Hate videos get clicks. They do. I mean, that's just the thing. And so you get it. I get it. I mean, I try to encourage new YouTubers, don't go negative. Make your blog or your podcast. This is what I always, whenever I do seminars or whatever, I always tell people, whatever you're doing, whatever your topic is, try to be a blogger, podcaster, or YouTuber that when people think of you, they identify you by what it is you love. Don't try not to be one of these podcasters, bloggers, YouTubers that you become identified by what it is you hate. But again, at the same time, I get it. They get views. So I've never, getting back to the heart of your question, going back to your question about what do I think about, you know, that one being 1 million and stuff like that. So the reason I don't really follow that kind of stuff is because just making videos that get tons of views is never what I've been about since I started my own channel. Like, I know what to do. If I wanted to, I'm almost tempted to do this as a science experiment. If I wanted to make a video that could get 100,000 views tomorrow, I could do it. I know about 15, 20 different videos I could do that could get 100,000 views tomorrow, or 200,000 views. I know the videos I could do that would get them, but that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to be. I mean, yes, in the course of editorial, sometimes the stuff I'm going to talk about isn't all positive, yay, yay, rah, rah. It's going to be about, hey, I'm a Disney Star Wars fan. I like the Disney Star Wars movies, and I hated Rise of Skywalker. Here's why. Here's why somebody like me, who is a fan of the Disney era Star Wars movies, for the most part, did not like this one particular Disney Star Wars movie. I think that's an interesting editorial. It may lean a bit negative, but it is nonetheless an interesting tutorial. So once in a while, that will be there. But I don't really pay much attention, honestly, to the views and the numbers, because I'm not going to change things to get more. If I want to get more viewers, I'd make a 5-minute video. I'd make a 5 to 10 minute video every day. That's it. I'd be a really short show. Just get the views, lots of reaction stuff, lots of top 10 lists, lots and lots of more hate kind of videos. I could start drama with other YouTubers. I could do the whole bottom of the barrel thing. Like, that's the bottom of the barrel, like YouTubers who talk about other YouTubers. To me, that's the bottom of the barrel. But I could do all that stuff. I could do it just like that. I could get easy clicks. That's just not what I want to do. And I don't begrudge other people who do what they need to do to get clicks, to earn a living and all that kind of stuff. I'm not begrudging them. I'm just saying that's not what I want to do and what I want to be. So when I tell you that I never knew that the 2-hour Avenger 4 Theories Q&A was my #1 video, I never knew that. I'm on it 1,000%. I would have thought my interview with Jason Statham, which has been around for a long time, I would have thought that would be my #1 video, but that was around for a long time. So I never knew that. What is it I think specifically that, why is that one up there? I don't know. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of Avengers videos out there. So I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you that. I have no idea, but that's interesting. Thank you for letting me know about that. All right, Joshua Howard writes, is it not possible for the Batman to be rated R, not because of blood and cursing and nudity, but because the film itself is just too grim and dark for the family audience PG-13 attracts? Well, no. I mean, look, if the Dark Knight is PG-13, hell, did you guys ever watch Hannibal with Mads Mikkelsen when it was on TV? You ever watch that? If that can be on TV, then being grim does not make something rated R. Being dark and grim, and that doesn't make it rated R. There has been much darker and much more grim that could be on broadcast television, like cable television, broadcast network television. Again, I'm talking specifically about Hannibal, but what they did on Hannibal, then yeah, I mean, I just can't see there being anything that they could throw into a Batman movie that didn't involve sex, nudity, or excessive violence or excessive blood. I can't see what they could possibly do that would make it rated R. I mean, I'm sure there might be some stuff, but for a Batman specific thing, I just can't see why they would. If they did, then they would just be giving it an R rating for the sake of giving it an R rating. To say, ooh, look everybody, look how cool we are. We got an R rating in our movie. Aren't we cool and edgy? Like there wouldn't really be a need for it. So I just can't see it. Now, I'm not saying that they won't go with excessive violence or blood or sex or profanity, stuff that's not in the comic books, but whatever. They could do that, but outside of that, I just don't see what a Batman movie could put into it that would necessitate an R rating. Like, really? I just cannot see them doing anything that Hannibal didn't do. And if Hannibal can be on broadcast network television, then whatever they can do in The Dark Knight. And again, I'm not saying it won't get an R rating. I'm just saying, yeah, I have a hard time seeing that one, Joshua. All right, next up. We have Dan Ketchum, who writes, as far as I can tell, the abuse Ray Fisher experienced from Whedon is that he insisted on script changes and Whedon said no. If so, Fisher is just a prima donna. Okay, true, yes. If that's the case, it makes Fisher a bit of a... Because remember, Fisher comes from a stage background. He was never a movie star before he got cast to be in Justice League. So maybe he just understands how things work. Maybe he thought, as the movie star, I have all the power. I get to say what I think my character should do and be and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know that that's exactly how it went down. We don't know that. Because we can say, if what you're saying, Dan, is the case, then yes, that makes Fisher a whining baby and a prima donna. But that's only if that's the case. It might not be the case. What if it's to the other extreme? What if it was to the point? Because, by the way, it's happened on movie sets before where like a producer or director literally gets physical with people. What if a Whedon or a Jeff Johns or somebody like literally like got so frustrated with their discussions with Ray Fisher that they literally threw over a table at them, or picked up a director's chair and like literally threw it at him? I mean, you might say that doesn't sound like a big deal. Guess what? Somebody throwing a chair at you, if it hits you the right way, you can be seriously injured. If it hits you in just, you could be seriously injured. What if they were like just piling on like racial derogatory stuff on him and all kind of stuff? I'm not saying that they did, but if they did, what does that say about Warner Brothers? What does that say about those individuals? What does it say about those people? And it totally changes our perspective. Again, that's why it's like we weren't there. So I can have what I currently believe, but what I believe is only fueled by the finite, tiny bit of information that we actually have at our disposal. Which is, I've heard what Ray said, I've heard what Warner Brothers has said, and I have heard what all the other cast members of Justice League have not said. With that tiny little bit of information, and you were to put me on the spot and say, okay, given that information, do you believe what he's saying? Do you believe him or do you believe Warner Brothers? Well, based on this tiny bit of information, I kind of believe Warner Brothers, but that can change once we get more information. That can change easily once we get more information. That's the sign of intelligent people. You reassess what your belief is when new information, new credible information becomes available to you. And until that happens, yeah, maybe I believe Warner Brothers right now. But the reality is there's not enough real information that we are privy to, nor do we have any right to be privy to it. There's not enough real information for us to definitively say, oh, Warner Brothers is clearly in the wrong here. Or, oh, Ray Fisher is clearly in the wrong. There's not enough information, one way or the other, to definitively say that. So it all depends. Like, if that's the case, Dan, then yeah, that says something about Ray Fisher. But if other things are the case, it says something more about the other people involved and Warner Brothers. So we just don't know. We just don't know. And that's why, honestly, I don't like talking about it, because we don't know. You and I weren't there, so we don't know. Titus writes, "Hey, John, love the show, brother. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. In the future, could we start seeing an added fee of about $10 a month to get movies delivered right to our digital library at home on release day? I think it's a possibility now." Again, a lot of things would have to first of all, that would be terrible. That would be terrible. Because, I mean, all that, then that just turns movies into the next movie of the week at home. It takes away the actual event nature, the true epicness of movies and motion pictures, which are meant to be seen in theaters, in communal experiences and stuff like that. Nothing will ever replace it. Plus, they'll never be able to make the money. If and when the movie theater stuff goes away, I mean, take the pandemic out of it and all that kind of stuff. If and when the movie theater experience goes away, it's going to radically change the financing of Hollywood, because gone will be the money that they make. It's going to be a different thing. So, but $10? No. There, believe me. Remember when, and this is the truth. Remember when, because I was one of them. I was guilty of this too. Remember when if we wanted television, we had to have a cable package deal, right? We had to have cable if you wanted to watch television. And then start coming the services that allowed us to cut the cord. I haven't had a cable package in, God, almost 10 years. I haven't had cable in almost 10 years. But the idea at the time was, once we're able to get all of our television over the net, it's going to throw open the doors, and it's going to be cheaper, and we're not going to be spending anything. It's going to be so much cheaper than these were. That was one of the big things at the time. It was going to be so much cheaper. We were going to be spending 20% of what we spend on cable to get all the entertainment that we want. And I was one of the people that believed that. At the time, I believe if you go back to my early, like even my movie blog days, I'd write, oh man, it's going to be a new utopia. Like, instead of having to spend like $130 to the cable company buying packages for shows you didn't even want to watch, or buying packages that included networks I didn't even want to see. Oh, it's going to be so glorious, everybody. I'm going to be spending so much. I'm going to be spending like $20 a month instead of like $125 or $30, whatever. But guess what happened? There were some people that said, if this whole streaming thing goes, if we get to this cord cutter thing, maybe not right away, but the consumers are ultimately going to start paying more. To which people like me said, guffaw. Guffaw, I say. It's going to be cheaper, and it's going to be great, and it's going to be glorious. Guess what? I am now spending, just a few years later, and it's only going to get worse. Today, I am spending more than I ever spent on cable. Between YouTube TV, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, Showtime, ESPN Plus, and I'm sure there's about 10 more I'm not even thinking about right now. I am spending more, and my regular HBO, which is about to expire, but my regular HBO, because I don't have HBO Max yet, I am spending, I just canceled DC Universe, but I'll count DC Universe is another one in there. When, at the end of the day, when you sit down and add it all up, I'm paying more today than I ever did for cable. So I say all that to make this one point. If and when that day comes where movie theaters aren't a thing anymore, and we lose the theatrical experience, and we lose the magic of the movies, and all that is gone, and the studios lose out on all that revenue, and blah, blah, and we're now all getting movies at home. You and I are going to be spending triple, if not quadruple, the amount of money that we would spend on going to the movies every year on that home stuff. It's going to ultimately be way more expensive. And I know a lot of you are probably like I was back a few years ago when they were warning us that, hey, all this a la carte, cord cutting, you're getting all your television stuff over the internet, it's going to ultimately cost you more money than it is just for paying for cable. I know a lot of you like me when I was back then, because I was like, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about, I said. Why I sounded like a 1920s reporter, I'm not sure. You don't know what you're talking about. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be the glorious days. The internet's going to make everything free, and it's going to liberate everything. And it's going to be a glorious utopia. And now, just a few years later, I'm spending more than I ever did on cable. Now, I also enjoy the experience today more than I did back when I had cable. I also enjoy the experience more. But guess what? And it's only going to get more expensive. It's only going to get more expensive. You know, at CBS All Access and Peacock and everything else, we are in the beginnings of all this kind of stuff. And then guess what's going to happen after that? Disney Plus is going to split at some point. They're going to have Disney Plus and Disney Archives. I don't know. They're going to split it. And now you got to spend, and by the way, this $7 a month for Disney Plus, oh, don't you think for a second that's what it's always going to be. Pretty soon it's going to be 10, and then it's going to be 12, and then it's going to be 15. And then they're going to say, okay, now we're going to have Disney Plus Premium, which is for all of our new original content, like Mandalorian, like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, not now, but someday. And that's going to be one channel. Then we're going to have the Disney Plus Archives, which is for all the classic library stuff. And you only have to pay $8 a month for that. And then we're going to have this. And it's all good. So even though just today, just a few years later, I am now spending more money on my television than I ever did with cable. Not that I wish we could go back to our cable days. I don't. But it's going to get even more expensive. And history will repeat itself. Make no mistake. History will repeat itself. Because when that starts doing that to Hollywood and the movies, a few short years after whatever and whenever that transition happens, whether it's 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 5 years from now, when that transition happens, ultimately, you and I are going to be spending double, triple, quadruple, 5 times more than we ever did with the theatrical movie experience. You may laugh at that idea now, like I laughed at the idea of cable television doing that many years ago, but we were wrong. And you're going to be wrong again. And so it's again, it's that utopian. Here's the thing, Titus. You've got that hopeful glow. It's like, oh, we'll just spend $10 a month and we'll have all the movies. Oh, it'll be great. You sound like I sounded 7-8 years ago about TV. Oh, it'll be great. I'll pay like $10 and I'll get all the TV and stuff. And here I am today, probably shelling out $150 plus a month when we add everything up. And I'm telling you, you sound just like me. You sound just like me a few years ago. I am telling you, it is ultimately going to cost. Hollywood doesn't do anything if they don't think doing that thing will make them can get more money out of us than what we do now. That's business. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. All right, next up. Major Tom writes, one of two. I did see the new Mulan, I should say, and I was not impressed. As someone who loves these kinds of martial arts epics, this was definitely a step backwards. You can tell the difference between how Hong Kong makes a movie and how the West makes a movie. When when it comes to martial arts movies like this, I would prefer a Hong Kong crew make it because they know these kinds of movies inside and out. For example, Mulan, Rise of a Warrior from 2009. It's a better movie in nearly every way. I mean, and so we're hearing different things. I've heard from a couple of people today that watched Mulan and really enjoyed it. And now we're hearing from you, Major Tom, that didn't. I would say this. I have not seen Mulan, but I'm not going into Mulan looking for a stereotypical martial arts movie. That's not what I'm going into Mulan to watch. I'm going into Mulan to watch an epic story. And if you can throw in some great action and all that kind of stuff, great. But and again, I haven't seen Mulan. Maybe if I see Mulan, I'll completely agree with you. I don't know, but I haven't seen it. All I can say is that I'm not going into Mulan wanting to see a Hong Kong produced martial arts film. That's not what I'm going into Mulan to watch. Personally, that's not what it is I'm looking for. I'm looking for an epic sweeping story for Mulan to see if they can make that happen. But again, I'm talking out of my ass because I haven't seen it. So maybe once I do, I'll completely be on your side with that one as well. I'll be curious. But it is interesting to see. We've had about 3 or 4 people now write in to say they've seen Mulan. A lot of them saying they like it, but we're getting someone like Tom coming in saying they didn't like it. There it is. Right, so that's why I'm still on the fence, Tom. That's why I'm still totally on the fence. All right, Luke1234 writes, I've seen a few people say Chiwetel Ejiofor should be the next Black Panther, but have they forgotten he was Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange? I think it would be funny if Terrence Howard came the new Black Panther. Yes, and like on the same show that first came up, it was later in the show, but Rob and I did say, now, of course, he's already in the MCU. He's in the Doctor Strange element. But I think people were just talking in generalities, like an actor like a Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is the same age as Chadwick Boseman. And frankly, is an even... I mean, you know, I think Chadwick Boseman was aces. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor is even better. I do. But I've said that for many years. I think Chiwetel Ejiofor is probably the most underrated actor in all of Hollywood. He's insanely good. He's insane. He's an Oscar caliber actor. And if it wasn't for the reconnaissance, Chiwetel Ejiofor would have a Best Actor trophy on his mantle right now because he would have won it for 12 Years a Slave. But Matthew McConaughey happened to have Dallas Buyers Club that same year, and so it didn't go his way. That's fine. But I think people were more talking in generalities. Like I think an actor like a Chiwetel Ejiofor, but we'll see. But yes, and I do hope we see the return of that character because I thought he was great. And I really do hope we get to see the return of that character soon. All right. James Welsh writes, Jim Carrey was in The Mask, Batman, and Kick-Ass 2. Michael Jai, I think you probably meant to write, right? Michael Jai White was in Spawn, true. Dark Knight, oh, that's right. And Arrow, doesn't count. That's television. That doesn't count. Carl Urban was Judge Dredd, Thor, and The Boys. Again, The Boys is television. We don't really count that. Mahershala Ali, Prowler. Don't know if I count that because he's just doing the voice. So I don't know if I count that. Cottonmouth, again, television doesn't really count. And Blade, which hasn't even happened yet. So the one I'll give you is Jim Carrey. I'll give you Jim Carrey. Because again, it's not really comic book, world, but technically speaking, that fits. Mask, Batman, Kick-Ass 2, that technically does fit. So I'll give you that. So we've got now Josh Brolin and Jim Carrey. Michael Jai White doesn't count because Arrow's television. Carl Urban doesn't count because The Boys is television. Mahershala Ali doesn't count, number one, because him playing Cottonmouth was in a television series, and him doing the voice of Prowler in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, that was just him doing voice work. I don't count that. So, but I'll give you Jim Carrey. So that's a good one. So now we've got 2 on our list. We've got Jim Carrey, and we've got James Brolin. There are probably others. All right. Well done. Well researched, though, James. I appreciate that. All right. Jared McBride writes, I'm so excited for the Snyder Cut coming to HBO Max next year. There are a lot of people who are very excited about it. I don't know what people are expecting from it, but I know there are a lot of people excited about it. And hell, I'm very curious to see it. I really am. I'm very curious to see it. All right, Man of Steel Rules writes, John, during my 800-mile drive, I was listening to several of your shows on YouTube, and one of them, your music started with your background, but it was some guy wearing a mask. I thought it was a joke at first, but soon realized it was a different. But I soon realized it was a different show. But it had the same music. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same music. A lot of people ask me about the opening song on the John Campea Show, right? I don't own that song. I've said this before. I've licensed that song. I've licensed that piece of music, but I didn't buy an exclusive license to it. So I have a right to use that song. I bought a license for it, so I have the license to use that song. But I did not buy the exclusive license, which means nobody else can use it too. So you might hear one or two other places. You might sometime come across somebody else also licensing that same piece of music. At some point, I'll probably just hire a musician to actually compose a theme for the John Campea Show. At some point. But right now, and then that'll be my piece of music and I'll own the exclusive rights to it. But right now, that isn't the case. All right. Final one of the day. Ben Rayner writes, Chris Evans, The Losers, Fantastic Four, and of course, Captain America. See, we mentioned Chris Evans the other day because I mentioned The Losers, which also had Idris Elba. It also had Nebula. Why am I freezing on Nebula's name right now? I love her, and I'm freezing on her name right now. Anyway, I had a lot of other people in there who were also went on to be in other comic book movies as well. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who was the comedian in Watchmen, and he was Thomas Wayne in Batman vs. Superman. And of course, he's Pa Winchester in Supernatural. So The Losers also had him. So yes, Chris Evans is one, but we haven't been talking about that one because that's one we mentioned already. But yes, absolutely. Chris Evans for The Losers, Fantastic Four, and of course, Captain America. All right. Anyway, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and making this show a part of your day. I hope you guys have had a fantastic weekend already. Well, I thought today's show really flew by, but we're already at 2 hours, so maybe it hasn't flown by as fast as I thought. Thank you so much for making this show a part of your day, guys. I trust you will have a great remainder of your weekend. You still got half the day. I hope you're able to relax, enjoy, get some things done if you need to, and that you guys are fresh and primed and ready to kick ass in another glorious week of triumph and victory starting in tomorrow. Of course, the John Campea Show will be on tomorrow. I hope you guys will come back and join us for that. Guys, while you're here, make sure you take a second. If you haven't done so already, click on that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Keep up to date on all the stuff we got going on here. You guys, of course, can be sending in your main topics. If you've got a main topic we should be talking about here on the John Campea Show, make sure you go over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free, guys. And then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as one of our main topics on the show. And then on top of that, if you want to guarantee you'll get your comment or question asked on the show, go ahead and use the tip link that's you guys have been using already. It's in the top of the description of this video. You can just click on it, or you can enter it manually. streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. If you get it in early, it'll be one of the first ones that gets answered on tomorrow's show. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, please remember to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.